Hello, and welcome to Paradise Killer gameplay presentation for LudoNarraCon 2020. We are Kaizen Game Works, the developers of Paradise Killer, and we're going to take you through a bit of the opening of the game, some of the early areas, and explain what Paradise Killer is, how it works, and what is cool and unique about this game, and show off a big chunk of gameplay, which we've never really done before. So to get started, my name is Oli, and I'm the creative director and one of the co-founders of Kaizen, and I'm joined today by...
I'm Phil, and I'm the technical director and the other co-founder of Kaizen.
And it's been mostly just the two of us working on this game. We've had a lot of help and support from a variety of people that have helped with as contractors. So we're going to show off all of their work as well, and talk about what we've done, and the timeline of this game, and how it all came to be, and what we're doing, and all this cool stuff. So, let's fire in. This is...
We should also explain that we're recording this in a slightly odd way because of the coronavirus lockdown. So that's why we're not in the same room playing it. I'm watching a stream of the video, and so it's a little bit disjointed. That's why we apologise, but what can you do in these times?
These trying times.
Mm-hmm.
So, we are not going to play from the very start of the game, because the start of the game is very kind of dialogue heavy, and we want to talk about stuff, and talk about what the game is, and that means that you'll be sitting through a lot of dialogue, speech bubbles whilst we talk. So
it's a bit of a shame, because one of my favourite moments of the game is right at the start, but I'll leave that for a surprise if you want to play the demo, or obviously grab the game when it's out.
Yeah, the demo is out on Steam for the duration of LudoNarraCon. So, and we should say thank you very much to Fellow Traveller, our publisher, for making us part of LudoNarraCon and helping us do this gameplay presentation and do demos and get the game out there. So
actually make the game, yeah.
So, what's going on is that you are Lady Love Dies, the character you saw on the main menu there, and she is an investigator that was exiled 3 million days ago, and she has been called back down to Paradise Island to solve the mystery of the mass murder of the council. Paradise Island, this is the 24th Paradise Island. Paradise Island is home to the Syndicate, who are worshippers of long-dead alien gods, and they are working to resurrect their alien gods, who came to the world during man's prehistory and enslaved man and forced humankind to fight in an endless series of wars over millennia. Humans rose up and committed the Great Betrayal, where they killed or imprisoned all of the gods, and the worshippers, the remaining worshippers of the gods, fled and created Paradise Island, a bizarre island in a separate reality. Each island fails because demonic corruption sets in, and this is the 24th one, and last night the 24th island was supposed to end cleanly and make way for the 25th island, the perfect 25th island that would not succumb to demonic corruption. But someone got into this building over here, the council building, and killed the council, the ruling elite of the secret society. So we have been brought out of exile from, this was our exile prison up here, the Idle Lands, on this big pillar, and we got called out and told that we needed to come and investigate this crime, because there aren't any investigators on the island. So the island is home to the Syndicate and the council, but also citizens, people abducted from the real world and forced to worship these gods. They've all been removed from the island because when a new island is birthed, the Syndicate gets moved to the new island, but the citizens do not. So it's a kind of an empty island. So we are exploring a near deserted island with only a few characters left and a few remnants of a civilization. This game is first person, it is open world, and it is an investigation game where you're trying to find out who killed the council in this building, but it is not about finding the right answer. It's not about finding the absolute truth, it is about finding the truth that you can believe in. And the structure of the game is that you never get told whether you've got it right or wrong, only whether you can prove the truth that you've decided upon. So, you'll go out into the world and investigate and explore, and then you will come back to this character, Judge, who's given you your mission, and initiate a trial with Judge, and they will guide you through the trials, and you will present evidence in any order that you want to determine who you think is guilty, to prove who you think is the guilty party. And again, the game will never say whether you got it right or wrong. It will only tell you whether you have got sufficient evidence to prove who you think did it, and the other crimes that you will discover.
So this is where we're different to a lot of other murder mystery styling games, right? Because they nearly always have one ending or 5 set endings, something like that. Paradise Killer, I don't know how many endings it's got, I've never counted. Because it's so open, you can accuse anyone of anything, and the game will support that. As long as you've got evidence to prove it, then the game supports it, and it builds on all the bits of evidence you've got and the various mysteries that you find to try and build up a picture of who actually did kill the council. So there's loads of different outcomes, and the real question is, are you satisfied with how good a job you did with investigation, or did you get what the convictions you wanted to get, not did you get the convictions the game wanted you to get?
Yeah, and there's never any narrative tests or hoops to jump through like you get some other narrative murder mystery games where you have to perform certain tasks before they will let you find the answer. It's always up to you to prove what the answer is. And I should also say that this is a pre-alpha condition demo, so there are some bits of optimization. We're optimizing this to run on very low-end systems so that as many people as possible can play it. And we are in the middle of doing some of those optimizations, so you are going to see things popping in and out in the distance. Like if we look down here, not all the foliage is drawing in, and this game runs pretty well on good PCs, so we will be fixing all of that. But I just wanted to point out that if you see anything that looks odd, it's because we're currently doing a lot of aggressive lodding and optimization. So let's get into it. Should we speak to Shinji first?
Yeah, Shinji.
Shinji is the best character in the game, and he is he is a side character that is not a suspect, and there's a bunch of story reasons why he's not a suspect. Everyone else on the island is a suspect except Shinji. But he is a demon that came to the island 10 years ago. The prime suspect for the murder of the council is currently locked behind bars, and it's a citizen that got himself possessed by demons 10 years ago. And so he's possessed by a demon, so the initial report, the initial story, looks like a demonically possessed citizen got into the council building and murdered the council. Whether that's true or not is up to you to decide, but Shinji is a demon that floats around the island, and he's an anarchic little gremlin that is just here for a good time. So the game is 3D open world exploration, but when you interact with the character you get dialogue trees full of choices, and you choose how you want to get through these dialogue trees. So the choices you want to make will affect evidence that you get and how other characters view you.
We do track pretty much everything, right? So the choices you make are important through this, and it can lock down or open up relationships and evidence that you can find.
So he's setting up the currency of the game. There's currency that you'll need to find in the world to buy secrets from a secrets broker, to buy drinks, to buy upgrades for Starlight. You see Lady Love Dies has a laptop that she uses. That's Starlight, your investigation assistant. And you'll need upgrades for that to help you get through some locks. This is one of the pieces of currency. This is Blood Crystal.
And that's your favourite bit of UI in the game as well, right?
Yep, that is my favourite.
You love that.
We are very heavily influenced by City Pop for the music which you can hear, but also like the UI is based off a lot of like the style from city pop albums. There was city pop like 70s, 80s, 90s Japanese pop music. This is a collectible.
Kind of a laid-back disco style. That's how I always think of it. It's just disco you can have in the background and just really kind of relax into it.
Yeah. So this is one of the collectibles. You'll find these around the island, and these help expand some of the lore and some of the flavour and the history. There's a lot of those to find. This is one of our save points. You'll save your game manually at these save points. And from there, you could also investigate the moon database. The Syndicate has a database of information on the moon, and when you've got certain items, you can use that. And it's also where you will get your fast travel pickups from.
Yeah, save point's perhaps the wrong name for that now. It always was just a save point originally. And we've always liked this idea of having set save points. I suppose that harks back to like the Resident Evil games and things where you had to correct your typewriter ribbons in order to save. We wanted to have something similar where these actions were quite deliberate, but over time that has expanded, so save points are now kind of multifunctional because they're good points for you to kind of connect into the island, and that's a real big thing. The island here is almost a character, so when you're interfacing with it through save points or when you're completing certain puzzles, you're kind of jacking into the island systems.
Yes. So let's find some more crystals. Oh, we've got some music. So the music is cool. Right, so let's talk about the music. The music is a playlist system. You find music tracks in the world. Let's get closer to one of the broadcasters. And we are playing the music through 3D space in the world. Most games, just play it in a 2D space. But music is broadcast out. Here it gets louder and quieter as you go close to one of these broadcast speaker towers. And that is to kind of imitate you being in like a 90s mall or something where music is being piped out of speakers. So you can find new bits of music, and shout out to our composer Barry Epoch Topping, who's doing an amazing job of composing loads of tracks for the game and also helping a lot, like doing loads of sound design, like all the UI sound. So let's just pick one of these up. It's one of my favourites. So it's designed to look like a city pop album cover, and you've now picked up that track. So we go into Starlight. No, that's the wrong button. We swapped them around recently and I've forgotten which one. Let's go to Starlight. So this is Starlight, your investigation assistant computer. This is your quest logs, all the potential leads and things that you should go and look into. And then we'll get through some of this other stuff shortly. But let's have a look at the music. So some of this UI, we're going through a big UI redesign at the moment. So this one in particular is a bit basic and not where we want it to be. So here you can see at the bottom we've got the playlist, and we've got all the different tracks. That's the one we just picked up.
This is only a small selection of the tracks, of course. Like you start with a few of them, and then there's loads to pick up in the world. So the full soundtrack it's really strong, really varied, lots of good stuff to find out there.
So we've got some settings here. Broadcast to the island, so we can just make it play 2D like normal games do, but I prefer the 3D and world stuff, and we're going to randomise the playlist. Right, let's bounce. What else can we do? What else is good? Let's find some more blood crystals, and let's get into some investigating. That's what this game is about. Torch on. We have a dynamic day-night cycle and weather system in the game. So as time is broken on the island, like the island exists in a separate pocket of reality, and so we have a dynamic day-night cycle, so we go from day to night, but everyone will refer to the murder from last night because it's still technically the same day and the last night, but reality is starting to break. So you'll see, where are the birds? So you see, sometimes you'll see the birds flying backwards, and you'll see them suddenly sky start to glitch out because this reality is falling apart.
Yeah, the reason for that is when the island closes, so this is the 24th island, and the council are working to shut down this island and to move to Perfect 25. and so as part of the shutting down process, the whole island is kind of collapsing in on itself. So the concept of time gets a bit skewed. And so there's still a lot of normal rules in place, but we've just kind of pushed them out to try and make the world a bit more interesting. And that's why the day-night cycle, it goes round relatively quickly.
So each time you unlock a save point, you also get a new Starlight skin, so you can customise what Starlight looks like. So let's have a look at that. So we've already got a couple of skins. This is the default one. We got that one, and then we've got this new Creeping Flora Starlight skin. So let's apply that.
It's such a nice thing, isn't it? Like, I don't know quite when we came up with the idea, but we always said that being able to customise Starlight would be a really nice little thing we could do. And sure, it's just changing a background, but to me it adds so much that I can put a little bit myself back into the game like that. It just makes everything just a little more personal.
And it's one of the nice to have features that we never thought we were going to get to do until we partnered with Fellow Traveller, and they gave us the time and space to put in some of these nice to have features.
So yeah, we've been really fortunate. Obviously, working with Fellow Traveller is wonderful, and we also got a grant from the UK Games Fund, and between them, we've been able to do a lot of things on our wish list. Like having a proper OST was always a dream of ours, and here we are making it happen. Not only that, but we're getting a vocal track, which is phenomenal. We haven't actually heard the proper version yet. We're still waiting on that. But having a song with vocals is like a dream come true for us. So yeah, it's been great to be able to work with both UK Games Fund and Fellow Traveller to bring these little things that we always wanted to life.
Absolutely. So let's have a look at a murder weapon. So Henry, what happened last night with the council murder is that Henry, who is off in this prison over here, somehow managed...
Sorry, I was going to say you could show a picture of him in the suspect screen if you wanted to.
Oh yeah, we can do that. Good point. This is Henry.
Just a avatar of him, yeah.
Henry Division. He's a citizen, born 27 years ago. It should be noted that the rest of the syndicate are immortal. The citizens are not. But he's been possessed by a demon. And he got off this island over here, this prison island, made it onto this island over here, and got into this building and murdered the guards, which we're about to find. We're about to find the murdered guards at the crime scene. Got into the rest of the building up here and murdered the council. And Grand Marshal Akiko 14 of the the God Justice Marshals that are the soldiers and the police force of this island found him. She was supposed to execute him. He escaped from her incarceration, and then she found him here where we're standing now.
So that's the official timeline, right? That's
Yes.
That's what happened according to the official reports.
Yes. So we've got a little evidence notification that we found some evidence there. Now Starlight is going to run the blood. At the beginning of the game, Judge gave us a blood sample of the victims and suspects, so we can test all of that. So this is a bit of a tutorial here where all the evidence that you find in the game is tracked in case files in Starlight. So these are all the case files, and each time you find a piece of evidence or you get some testimony from a character, it is placed in one of the case files. Starlight categorizes it and puts it in the relevant case file. So we've just found this new murder weapon evidence for the main case file: who killed the council, who got in and sliced at the council. So this evidence has now been assigned to Henry. This flow shows where it's assigned, and we only show this flow once. This is like a tutorial flow, but you can turn it back on so that every time you get a piece of evidence you see this flow, so you can see where it's been assigned to. So these are all the case files. So these are the suspects that we've got.
All the case files you've got at the moment.
Yes, these are the ones that we've got, all the suspects that we've got unlocked at the moment. And these are the crimes. So this is the big one: who killed the council. Judge, when you come to the island, Judge also tells you that one of the syndicate members, KHX, is missing. We can go into a case file and we can see that we've got no evidence assigned to any of the suspects. So so we need to do some legwork there. And then we've got unsorted evidence. So any evidence that you pick up, but you don't know who it relates to or which case file it relates to, is dumped in unsorted. And when you find something that connects it to a crime, it will be moved from unsorted to the correct case file. So with the suspects, you are trying to find their motive, their alibi, and their alibi breaker. So what gives the motive to slice up the elite of the elite? What's their alibi? What did they say they were doing at the time of the murder? And how can you break that evidence? How could you break that alibi and prove that there was an opportunity for them to commit the murder? So we've got nothing at the moment, so let's try and do something about that.
Shall we show how, because obviously we've started the game not in the intro, so if you're playing the game from the start we get a bit more direction. But right now, you want to show the quest log screen so you can show how you can understand what tasks you could be looking at.
Yeah, so this top one, find your truth and start the trials, return to judge to start the trials. You get that at the beginning of the game. So you could just go, I've just noticed a spelling mistake there as well.
That's probably my fault. Never ever let me spell anything.
That isn't flowing correctly. There we go. Right, got it. So you could come down to this island. Judge will tell you the official version of events, so you could say, yeah, I'm going to go with that. I believe it was Henry that did it. That all makes sense to me. I don't want to do any investigating. And you could wrap this up pretty quick. You could go to trial straight away and say it was all Henry, and that would get you through to the end of the game. You could complete a version of the game. But if you want to go out and do some exploration, these quest notes the investigation notes will help guide you as to what kind of things you could be looking at. So we know, like for all the suspects, that we have to go and speak to the suspects about their suspicions for who has motive and what they were doing at the time of the murder last night. And then for case files, KHX is missing. We've been told that. Where is he? Let's go and find out what's going on with him. And so this is all suspect stuff. And then we've got some potential leads here. So Judge also told us that we need to examine the 2 murdered guards, and the council building, the council are protected by holy seals within their building, and there's 4 of them. So how did the killer get through all of these holy seals, these barriers that were supposed to safeguard the council? We need to find out what each of them were, and how someone could have got through them. So that's what we're examining at the moment. And you see these avatars here. It's an open world. You don't know who these people are. Lady Lovedice, your character, has been on this island. She's like Lydia and Sam are her oldest friends. But you might not know who they are because you're a new player, new to this game. So we have an AR mode. So you can go and track down where everyone is. So there's Judge, who we saw earlier. There's Sam. There's Lydia. There's the Grand Marshal, Akiko, with Henry behind in there, and some of the other characters. So you can start going through and chasing down these leads. We just saw the lights turn off as part of the day-night cycle. We have that chime.
Oh, I love that chime.
That plays out across the island to let people know that a new day has dawned or a day is ending, and the lights have turned off.
We should. Sorry, before we get into that, just talk about the quest log. The investigation notes themselves. Like, we're never super explicit with them, right? We really want to encourage the player to put their own interpretation on things. So, while sometimes you'll say, "Oh, you need to go here," we never want to be explicit all the time because it's the joy of discovery, and we don't want to take that away from you.
Yeah, so you saw there in that dialogue where Lovedice was investigating that bloodstain where Henry was found. It said new note has been added. So going into Starlight, we can see under potential leads, we've now got the top one. I should find the distance and time it would take for Henry to escape. Because what you just examined there was where Henry was found. And so now where was the start? And if we know where the start is, and if we can measure that distance and time, we can know whether that was feasible for Henry to commit the crime in the time frame that has been given by the official version of events. So this is the council building, and the first seal are 2 dead, well, they weren't dead at the time, but 2 God Justice Marshals who were supposed to be guarding the entrance. So let's investigate the scene and find out what happened to them. So we have this crime scene investigation gameplay mode where we see these dead bodies and we can examine different things in them. We also use this for examining rooms and crime scenes. So what have we got here? Strange demonic glyphs from a cosmic language, and killed with a blade. So they've got gashes across their neck, across the throats. But what's important here is it's not a perfect blade. The blade has some nicks or damage in it, which means that the lacerations are ragged. So that's an important bit of evidence. So Love Dies explains a bit about what's going on. So the blood here doesn't match. So we've been told these people here were martial guards, but the blood doesn't match the records of any marshals on the island. So something is weird here.
Mm-hmm.
So the blood, the knife that you found just down that ramp earlier, the blood on that matches the blood at this crime scene. So we've got a new case file. This is the case file to investigate who killed the Holy Seal Marshals. You will find new case files as you progress through the game and find new crime scenes. So we can see that whoever drew those symbols used the blood of the dead bodies to draw them. So Henry, the demonically possessed prime suspect, has those same markings burned into his flesh. When he was possessed by the demon scorched him from the inside out, and this weird cosmic language that the demon speaks was burnt into Henry's flesh from inside. So has Henry drawn these symbols as a kind of ritual act during the murder? So we're talking about this damaged blade.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've got two new pieces of evidence. So let's go and take a look in the case files for who killed the Holy Seal Marshals. So this has been assigned to Akiko. This is the blood mismatch evidence. Akiko is the Grand Marshal of the God Justice Marshals, so they're her troops. So it doesn't match, the blood here doesn't match the records for the Marshals. So that's suspicious and weird. So it's been assigned to Akiko because they're supposed to be her troops. The symbols in blood has been assigned to Henry because they match the symbols that he's got drawn on his body, which we'll see when we go and meet him in a bit. And we've got a piece of unknown evidence. The Marshals were killed with a blade, but whose blade was it?
So as you find information about that, that could be assigned to one of those suspects.
Yes.
So it kind of guides you towards that. And with things like this, again, we never want to be super explicit because it's up to you, and the way you investigate these things can in fact change the outcome of some of that, right? Mm-hmm. So you could not do any investigation and never know, or you can find something and interpret it in a way which might accuse A or B. Obviously, I don't want to say names. So yeah, we try to let you play the role of an investigator and piece together your own truths, not the ones that we've decided you should have. Which is really hard to do. Like as a
it's been the biggest challenge.
So as a programmer, it's not that bad. Like making the systems behind it, it's not super easy, but it's not too tricky. But as a designer, like allowing that level of freedom and allowing people to interpret evidence in their own way, it's been a huge challenge.
Yes, and we had to make some rules pretty early on about. Actually, I want to get to this area a different way, but we had to make some decisions early on about the rules where every piece of evidence has to relate to a suspect. Suspects are the things that drive this game, because if you have like evidence floating around that could be assigned to like different suspects, and it clouds your interpretation of what the crime was and how people did it. So we had to lock into some rules with there's always multiple valid suspects. No matter what truth you believe, there's always a question there of who could have done it and have I got the right answer. And making sure that everything is like very explicitly clear about who it relates to and how it relates to the crime. So let's go and have a...
We did do some earlier versions where we went through a couple of iterations of trying to see what would work and how this game structure would piece together, and some of them, there were some really nice ideas, but it left so much open to interpretation that you couldn't get a satisfying result. So we need to draw that line between being completely and utterly explicit and completely the other side as well. So we need to be explicit enough but not overly explicit, and it's very challenging with the scope of this island as well. Like, we set ourselves a huge challenge of making an island with a lot of evidence. I don't know how much, but there's an awful lot, and we have to treat each one with a lot of care.
Yes. We just got a snack delivery from one of our artists, Rachel.
Oh, nice.
Thank you very much. She was caught on camera, so I'm just calling that out. Rachel helped us with a lot of the 3D art and some of the character art, and a lot. She helped define some of the different aesthetics we had. Like, I never knew what the kind of religious aesthetic would be for some of the statues and stuff, and she helped with the crystal shader. And
oh yeah, that's really cool. And she did one of my favourite characters as well, which is Dead Nebula.
Yes, we've got a little mascot character to find. So there was another Shinji. So this area wraps round. It's a big statue. Again, there's that crystal shader that Rachel did. And there's some like characters that you can see that it's translucent. There we go. And I'm not going to look at the same one. Actually, no, there's blood crystal up here.
The advantage of knowing the game inside out, right?
Yeah, I want to go and spend a blood crystal on an upgrade.
Yes.
So we've got a new save point, a new fast travel point, and a new skin. Let's do that. We've got Crimson Acid. So Crimson Acid
is a good skin.
Yeah, it's one of our characters. No, wrong one. Oh, there we go. That's Crimson Acid. She's a character that's been blessed by the gods and has got a goat head because of her actions repelling a demonic invasion on the previous island. And we'll go and look at her later.
I really like that story, and we'll talk a bit more about it when we meet her properly. But just it's all our characters. You've done a really, really good job of designing these characters' stories and backstories and defining their features. And hers is one of my favourite, just because it says so much about this island and the ruling council of it, and how they treat people within it.
Well, thank you very much for saying so. We should call out Curran, Gregory, Gigalithic, and Gigalithic on Twitter, who did almost all of our character art, who brought those characters to life. Let's take a quick look at the island. So this is we started.
Good time of day.
Yeah, we started over here, where my cursor is there on the council the courthouse, and then we came down here and explored the Syndicate HQ area a bit, and then we went up into this building here to have a look at the dead marshals, and then these are some of the other areas. This is the Idle Lands where you're exiled to, and there's some apartments down there. There's the dead zone there. What is the dead zone? That's exciting. It's an area of the island that sits under a concrete sarcophagus. We've got the barracks there, the marshal barracks, and then there's some areas of the islands you can't see about. There's a big beach. There's the reality folding drive power station. There's the farm. There's the factory. There's all sorts to discover. So we wanted a really detailed open world where there's always something to find and always something to explore and always the opportunity to find stuff off the beaten path and to just kind of plot your own way through the island. So we can see where some of the characters inhabit the island, and there's not a lot of characters on the other side of the island. So there's a good mix of, a lot of character interaction on this side of the island, and then when you get to some of the other parts of the island, you get to have a bit more alone time and just kind of chill and vibe. Let's see, this is cool. This is a painting Lydia, one of the characters, is an artist, and she's painted this depiction of Lost Pain, one of the gods who was defeated. He fled to the dark side of the moon in man's prehistory. But this relates to... he lives on the dark side of the moon now. He's leeching power from the moon. And this popular song on the island is Railgun Love. The lyrics are about a railgun, using a railgun to destroy the moon and kill Lost Pain before it kills us. And that is a reference to the very first prototype quest that we put into the game.
Yeah, I remember that well.
Early on, we had some... Oh, hello, I forgot you spawned here.
Who's this? One last kiss.
So that's a new exciting mystery for us to go and track down. So we need to find the Syndicate graveyard. There we go, one last kiss. One last kiss is playing games. I need to find it. Again, we're not being explicit about how to do that or where to go. So it's up to you to go and track that down.
If you want to, of course.
There's another exciting mystery. What is that? Collectible. So this is a collectible. This is Silent Goat. You'll see a lot of statues of him, and he is the first god that came to Earth and spoke to humanity and lifted us out of being primitive apes and gave us technology and civilization. And when he was captured and being tortured during the Great Betrayal, he gifted the Syndicate his power, allowing them to create the island sequences and create Paradise Island.
There's you probably noticed when listening to the start of the stream, but there's an awful lot of lore behind this, right? But the setup is you're on an island investigating a murder, but the thing that gives everything character is all the lore behind it, which you can discover if you want to. Like the more time you put into it, the more you can piece together about this mysterious world you find yourself in. And that's always been something you've been super keen to do. I know that. Like you always reference the Souls games as how you can piece together if you put the effort in.
Yeah, we never do storytelling. We never want to do storytelling. We always want to do story interacting, and that takes many forms. And so that's why there's no set ending that you have to discover, or even like one of three endings. It's always about what you as the player get out of the story and how you interact with the story. And part of that story interaction is kind of some of the stuff like Dark Souls does, but also stuff like Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, where there's all sorts of little vignettes and story to find in those games, and for you to interpret, and it's up to you to put the effort in to work stuff out. So we're never massively explicit about everything that goes on with the collectibles and the lore. What we're trying to do is create this kind of like headspace for you to inhabit, to think through it, to reason it through, to just get lost and immersed in, and work stuff out for yourself, and kind of get as much out of it as possible. But also, like, again, we never want to be explicit. Like, I never want a wiki written about this, because I want there to be enough mystery where it's like impossible to piece it together. Yeah,
mystery is a big thing. We both love that. I mean, we really like we played the same game before, and we've each had different interpretations of what's going on, and it's really cool to be able to talk about that and share your thoughts and opinions without having a solid answer laid down for you. So we're trying to keep it just nice and open, and that's the theme of the game. Like, just always open, always respect the player and let them enjoy what they want to enjoy.
Yes, so we are up on the council building rooftop now. We came up that big statue walkway, and there's like not a set path to get over here. You know, I took it upon myself to jump over these railings because we just want you to explore. And like, you can go anywhere on this island. I mean, that's an old cliche thing to say about open world games, but we never wanted there to be anywhere that you couldn't go. The only places that are off limits are those, like the massive pyramids in the background there, and there's a story reason for that. But otherwise, you can go anywhere and traverse anything, and it creates a lot of challenges because we have to make sure that there's always something to find, but always a way to get out of trouble. Like you could very easily get yourself trapped in somewhere that we've never seen before, and we have to make sure that there's a way of platforming out of that.
Yeah, not being content with making an extremely complex non-linear game, we also made an open world that can be completely traversed. With two people, people always say, "Oh, don't bite off more than you can chew," and we were always, if we were going to make a game, we want to be ambitious, and we have been super ambitious, but we've been, I think, quite smart about how we've been done it. Not to toot our own horns, but we've both worked in the industry long enough to know where common failures and stuff can come up. So it's been a lot of work, but the result is very, very much what we wanted to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this game is made purely systemically. Like, I've worked on a lot of games where they're very bespoke, like cutscene-driven games or set-piece-driven games, and you spend like weeks just iterating one 10-second bit of gameplay because it's completely unique to that section of the game. And we never wanted to do that, so it's very rare that we have something that's completely bespoke. It's all systems-based and repeatable and kind of safe, so we make a fix on one part of the game and it propagates out to all other parts of the game.
I was going to say pick that up.
I was going to say, yeah, this is another collectible. So you'll notice there it says the 25th island sequence. The game takes place on the 24th island sequence. So this is happening in the future. This is on the next island. So these are interesting characters, the whiskey drinkers as we call them, that are talking about the island and the world and the repercussions of what's going on. I wonder what game that could be.
This is... I'll wait till after we've read this. So one of the joys of making a big content-heavy game like this, for me at least, is that I'll keep seeing these little things that I didn't know existed. Oli's just been in there and he's added some dialogue. Or the other day I found paintings in an area near one of our characters witnessed at the end that I hadn't seen before, and it's just like these really nice little moments of joy for me. I've seen this game day in, day out for so long now, but still there's these little moments where I just just great joy in the discovery that Oli's been able to put in.
Yeah, I enjoy seeing things that I've forgotten I've written like that. So those whiskey drinkers were originally integrated into the story, but the problem is with this game is that because it's completely non-linear, there's very few instances where we know that the player is going to be doing a certain thing and this makes sense to put in, so we put it in as collectibles and tied their dialogue less to the story and more to kind of the general world feel. And one of the things that the kind of writing that I wanted to do with this game was like very obtuse or esoteric, cryptic stuff that you kind of get in like a lot of pseudo games. But like the Silver Case and Killer 7, they get away with being obtuse and cryptic and kind of apathetic as to whether you get it or not. That was weird.
That was a very sudden change, wasn't it?
This guy just flipped colour. Put that in the bug list. And you can't do that in this non-linear game because in a strange world, because we need to make sure every bit of dialogue is very explicit about what this means. So if we look at this evidence here, like this has to be very explicit about what it is and how it relates to the crime and the world. So here we're saying, these must be from Lydia. She's the only one on the island with a car. This is an open world island. We knew that we couldn't do traffic, and we knew that we couldn't do an island big enough to have roads, so the story was written so that there's only one person that has a car, and it's a special car that travels through different realities. So that makes sense. But we need to be able to communicate that to the player, and so we can't have weird, obnoxious, cryptic dialogue that I like to write. So that was how I crowbarred it in by putting it into the whiskey drinkers, where what that is there to do is to conjure flavour and a feeling, an atmosphere, rather than something like very gameplay specific that we need to know. So that's a good bit of evidence. So that bit of evidence is we got about Lydia's tyres.
That's a really good example of evidence as well, because that is one of the cases where we are super explicit and we say this thing we found belongs to Lydia. We give you that straight up, and as a player, as Lady Love dies, you know that because you know Lydia from before you're exiled. You know she has a car, you know her role is the ferry woman, but we don't necessarily tell you what that had to do with anything else. We just say you found her tyre marks in this location, and you can use that bit of information to build up the rest of your story.
Yeah, and so we've got let's have a look at evidence. So we see that now Lydia has got the evidence description there assigned to her, and then under notes we've got tyre marks on top of the council building. There's only one person on the island who owns a car, so we know we should probably go and speak to Lydia about that. But what are these tyre marks doing up here? What else can we find?
Why are they up here? They shouldn't be there.
That's a weird thing to have on top of the building. What's this? Some repelling gear.
It's like you're presenting a children's TV show.
Yes. Gather round for story time about mass murder. So is there a way to get to the council building? So repelling gear with that, you're trying to infiltrate.
You could have parked your car up there and then used the repelling gear to drop down.
Where does the repelling gear go down to? Let's drop off here. So it's down here. This is a platform on the edge of the building. Let's get the important stuff first, the currency.
Money.
So why would repelling gear be going down here? Let's see where it goes to. What is this? This is some kind of grate. So one of the visual rules that we have with this game is that anything that is interactive is pink to help guide the player's eye, because that's a problem that a lot of open world, realistic open world games have. Is it's very hard to tell what is the affordance of every item. What can the player do with each item in each level, and what can they interact with.
I also just want to point out here that we had that moment where you drop down, and that's also something we always wanted to achieve, that we didn't want a flat world where you just had to walk on set paths. You can traverse, you can jump long distances, and there's a good reason why you don't take fall damage, and that was kind of introduced early in the game. But we want to have these interesting movement mechanics, let you be free to explore this island as you want to. Yeah, and that's a good example where you could approach this, as you'll see, in several ways. One of those is by jumping over barriers and trying to make accurate falls, and another way is you can get to it through several different ways depending on the situation.
Yeah, so that evidence was talking about this grate has been opened, and there's some drag marks where something has been dragged through it, so that possibly relates to, where is it? The repelling gear. We're trying to get in here, but what's cool is that, like Phil just said, you could come to this evidence from a different direction. So if we go,
re-examine.
So we go down the ladder. We are down here, back in the council building. So we could have got to that evidence from different directions, and a lot of the areas in the game interlock, and there's a lot to explore and different routes to find.
Sometimes, we've done you've got a locked door, so you can only get to it one way. Well, I say only one way. There's normally a couple of different ways you can get to areas. But sometimes there are those little environmental puzzles for you to solve as well. Other times it's completely open and free.
So that is one of the challenges that we faced, is that sometimes there are doors which only open after you've pressed a certain button or unlocked it from the other side. But in a completely open game with a lot of platforming mechanics, which we'll get to, we had to account for the player being able to sequence break and get behind them. So like in Resident Evil, they always know that you can't sequence break and that a door has to be unlocked this specific way, but we can guarantee that because we know that the player could you see how some people not break, but explore games by finding just the right bit of collision somewhere to double jump up onto something, and sequence break and get behind somewhere they shouldn't do. So we've had to account for that and make sure that... Sorry, just to cut into this. Have you ever been exploring up here?
Not for a while.
Because
Is there something...
No, nothing's been done. That's a little insight into the development process. I'd forgotten that we allowed you to explore around here, and I was playing the other day and just ended up exploring around here, and you get some pretty cool views when you get around you get around here. And I was like, okay, right, we need to put something up here. Like, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, we always have to make sure that there's something for the player to find.
A reward, yeah.
Yeah, and it's quite a cool. You know, I had a good sunset view round here. What are those trees doing? There's another insight to the development process. Sometimes.
Oh, are those going a bit crazy?
Yeah, we've seen.
I thought I'd fix them.
We've seen this game like in day out for like the last 2 and a bit years, and then one day randomly the trees are shaking.
It's because I tied their shaders into wind values, and their wind values are tied to cloud
cover.
Oh no!
Oh. Yeah, we respawn when you land in the water.
Where are you now? You're in the council. Yeah. Yeah, it takes you to the nearest save point to respawn you.
But I wanted to go and find a bit of evidence that was down there. So.
Cool.
Oh, another bit of exploration that we could do. Let's go and have a look at these apartments. So this is the council building, so the council members all have apartments here. And, oh look, a pink door. Pink means interactivity. So see again some more of our crime scene investigation, where Starlight is passing.
It's something you might never find, right? Unless you are exploring, you might never find that, and the difference that makes to the game again depends how else you play and how else you found. So this could be something that kind of gives you the answers you've been looking for, or it could be something that gives you a bit of flavour, or something you never find. And that's what you wanted to support. Like you get out of the game what you put into it.
Yeah, definitely.
I quite like these moments of Lady Love Dies being a bit kind of, I'd say this is a big stinking clue about something. It's almost breaking that wall a little bit.
Yeah, she's quite. I wanted to make her a little bit world weary and a little bit tired of all this, like other people's nonsense, but like not unlikably so. So she knows that she's here to investigate something. So she's sometimes a bit cynical. I'm not a big fan of cynicism as a thing, but she sometimes hasn't got a lot of time.
I mean, it's like any experienced investigator. They've seen a lot of stuff, and you do start to be cynical because you've seen so much, and you can't always trust something or question something, and sometimes things are a bit obvious, and it's nice to reflect that in Love Dies.
Yes, definitely. So
here we are.
I know there's a bit of evidence down here, which you would have seen when you drop down. You can just see the pickup icon as you drop down. We're trying to lead the player's eye. So let's have a look at some of this evidence that we've got before we do it. So, we've got assigned to Lydia, tyre marks and repelling gear. So the way this system works is that each evidence has this is a peek behind the curtain here. Each evidence has different descriptions based on whether you know who or which crime it relates to. So the repelling gear, the order that we just did this is we found the tyre marks and then the repelling gear. But we have to make sure that the game supports the player finding anything in any order. And that's really our USP, our unique selling point, is that you can do anything in any order. But what that means is we have to make sure that everything accounts for that, and that has been a nightmare, but a very worthwhile nightmare. Like, the experience is like nothing else. So here, the repelling gear, we know that it's linked to Lydia because it says Lydia's tyre tracks are up here as well, but this would have a different description if you hadn't found Lydia's tyre marks, because you can make a fair assumption that if there's tyre marks next to repelling gear, they probably came they're probably linked, and the repelling gear was probably used by Lydia as an ex-assassin. She probably knows how to use repelling gear to breach a building and get behind the Holy Seal marshals, because we've seen there that when we went through that grate, we got then in behind the marshals that were stationed at the front of the building. So if you're an assassin, getting behind someone would be a good idea. So some of the other evidence we have the marshals were killed with a blade, and we've got this damaged grate. So the description for the damaged grate says that it's a secure grate, that something's been dragged through, the anti-tamper seals have been cut, and it has been pried open, but it's unknown. We don't know who did it, so it's in the unknown evidence dump. So let's go and find this bit of evidence, almost as if I know exactly what it's about to do.
All the evidence you found is very particular to your playthrough, the way you played it. So someone else who has got similar evidence might have very different entries depending on what else they found and what order and so forth. It really is trying to cater this experience to you as an investigator.
Yes. So let's find out what this is.
Sammy baby.
So we know that Lydia is married to Sam. And so we know that this is Lydia's knife. There's no blood on it, which is interesting. The blade is damaged, though. It has nicks along it. So that we know now that the guards up top were killed with a damaged blade. They were not killed with a clean blade, and this blade has nicks along it.
Interesting.
And so now this is where the dialogue branches. So again, what I was saying is that, you know, we have to account for the player coming to every bit of evidence from, in any order, from any direction, based on what they've done in the past in the game. So if you had only found this knife, this would be where this dialogue ends. But because we found that damaged grate up above, the dialogue now branches to link those two things, because the grate had been pried open with a thin tool that had been used to cut the anti-tamper seals. So
using your investigative powers, you've deduced that was a knife that could have been used to open that grate. And then it got dropped down. Oh, nice fish.
Yeah, so that was where we were, and when you were up on there, when you were dropping down to here, you would have been able to see that pickup icon here, so you'd be like, okay, we need to go and explore down here and find out what's going on here. And then we got the nice early morning.
I think that's my favourite time, when it's just kind of nice morning distance fog out there.
Yeah.
And kind of the world's waking up, and you probably can't hear them in this particular location.
Oh no. Fell off into the water.
Yeah, in this particular location you can't hear them, but then you have different ambient sounds, so you'll have crickets or cicadas or various insect sounds playing depending on the time of day as well. And we try to make the world livable, because we don't have this GTA experience where we've got people walking around, like giving the world movement. We try to achieve it through VFX and through SFX as well. We want to try and keep them interesting as you keep playing. So like that steam grate there that you just walked past, that's just something that adds movement to a world which doesn't have a lot of moving things in it, because the island is now almost deserted.
Yeah, that has been a real challenge with the environment design, is finding stuff to add movement in a near deserted world. So you see the plants ripple while sway in the wind.
Some of the trees sway more than others.
We've got flags, we've got birds, we've got these steam grates. There's a lot of aircon units, because I'm obsessed with Japanese aircon units, and they often have steam coming out of them. But what I wanted, the reason I say we got blood crystals is that's a bug. That bug has come back.
What bug's that? There's water in there.
There's water in there.
Let's see if this works, and that'll be exciting.
So this is a footbath. In Japan, they have something that we noticed because we go to Japan on holiday a lot, and we noticed that they have footbaths out on some streets because that place is the hottest place in the world. So some people sit and have a footbath. So we just turned the water on. We spent some blood crystals to turn the footbath on. There's something strange in there.
What? So I love this.
So there's the boat.
Oh, the fountain turns on. It's gone the wrong way round.
Yeah. We fixed that the other week. There's another insight into development. So now we've got, we can double jump. So that now allows us to get to more places and to hop over walls and do some more exploring. But something that we also added recently, which is really cool with the jumping, is that, so we wanted to add in double jump because it allows for more exploration, and often narrative games don't do exploration. They or at least surprising exploration. They tend to do quite normal, like first-person walk around. But we wanted to do lots of platforming, so we put in double jump. But something that Phil implemented the other day to make the jumping feel a bit better is that when you're in mid-air, you don't have to jump from standing. You have a grace period when you're in the air where you can just jump and just take off, even though you haven't jumped, you're just falling. So now that gives you the opportunity to have a couple of jumps in mid-air and do some real exploring.
It's completely unrealistic, but it's something that we feel is a moment of surprise, right? Obviously we spoiled it. For anyone who's watching this, they now don't get to discover that particular upgrade, but there are others. And we just want the game to surprise you with these things that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see. Like, I'm walking around an island investigating, and I can use ladders, and I can make long jumps, and I can double jump, and it's just all these things open up the world for you. What have you just done there?
So I just found a crest. Sorry, that piece of music keeps cutting out early. There was a crest hidden under here, and I put it in here, and you can see there's slots for more crests. So when we fill that up with crests, we'll open up this chest. So we've got some kind of environmental puzzles in here and things to discover. And again, pink means interactivity. So you can see there's pink on there, and as I span around, I noticed this here. So the gods are alien creatures that came from a different part of space. And this is a shot of a painting or an image of where they came from. Right.
I don't know where you're going to go now, but I was going to suggest going up the top of the Syndicate HQ, because the puzzle up there it's one of my favourite puzzles in the game. And I couldn't necessarily tell you why. It just makes me smile every time I complete it.
Well, that's fine, but you've now committed to telling me where the crest is for that, because I can never remember.
If you can find it, it's interesting.
The key for that is.
Go up there to start with, and then we'll see if you can work it out. That's one of the problems with such a heavy content game. And again, I couldn't tell you how many items are in this game. It's a lot, but we forget where they all are because there's just so much of it. But
what's also cool is I've worked in a lot of AAA studios where you are not allowed. You stay in your lane. Like if you're a designer, you don't do art. If you're a coder, you don't do design. But because there's only two of us, and we don't think that's a very good way of working, Phil does design stuff. I'm the main artist and designer on this, but Phil does design stuff, and so I'll be playing and I will find stuff that Phil's implemented that I didn't know about and have no idea. So like, I can't remember which of us placed this crest. Oh, I found it! Hooray!
There you go.
But
there's a good Shinji around there too.
Yeah, who knows who placed what where, and we have tools in place to find all of these things so that we don't get lost, and we don't ship a game that doesn't work. But
a huge cluster of blood crystals under the world somewhere.
The plaque says the blue goat brings fruit. This is a statue here. This is a statue of one of our gods crying grudge. We can see the cool.
Put your torch on, you can see a bit of detail maybe.
Sorry?
Put your torch on, you might be able to see a bit more detail.
It blows out some of the...
oh yeah.
I really like... Bright. Yeah, let's have a look. So this is one of the gods crying grudge. I just love that shader at night. Let's go. So we just saw that blue crest hanging out down here.
It can be a bit of a tricky one to get, that one.
I can hear Shinji as well. You can hear his laugh. That's how we indicate. We always have to signpost everything as well, so everything has a noise attached to it. Well, a lot of things have a noise attached to it so that you can track stuff down. One of the things we always wanted to do, like, to contrast in this game was you're investigating a mass murder, but there needs to be some lightheartedness, otherwise you're just going to get murder fatigue. And so Shinji is there. He's not necessarily always funny, because that's just part of his personality. He thinks he's funnier and cooler than he is. But we just want little moments where you discover a weird little dude and have a bit of a light-hearted moment. So we've got a blue goat crest there.
It's always been... Oh, what's that? What is going on? I don't think I've seen the rain since you changed it the other day, actually.
Well, I'm going to cop to something here. That one of the benefits of using Unreal is that you can use a lot of like marketplace assets and learnings that Epic and other people have done. And Epic make a lot of free content, and this is one of Epic's free rain effects. And the one that I did looked awful, so I'd slap this one in.
It's surprisingly hard to do an open world rain.
Yes. Like, we haven't got it set up at the moment so that it won't rain indoors when you get to Interrogate. So that's one of the challenges that we've got to fix, is stopping it from raining when you're indoors. Right.
It's stuff like this, like the rain comes when it's got a heavy cloud cover, and it's just trying to make all those things happen. It's not just random switches, it's trying to make everything happen at a believable time in a somewhat unbelievable world. It makes it interesting.
So we put the crest in, crying grudge started crying, and his law that I'm going to tell you, we haven't discovered in this playthrough yet, is that when he cries, his tears cause white lilies to spring through the ground. So when you put that crest in, these rose from the ground, and you can see the effect that you've had on the world. So every time you do something, you are leaving a lasting impression on the world.
I just love those tears. They they're just ridiculous fountain tears, aren't they?
Yeah.
Which is, if you're building that as a statue is what you do, and I don't know why I like that so much, but I do.
Right, should we go question a suspect?
Well, I suppose we ought to. That's kind of the main thrust of the game, isn't it?
Who do you want to go and speak to? Your choice.
Let's go talk to Witness.
Talk to Witness?
Yeah. So, whilst we're on the way there, tell me about the names, because you've come up with most of the names for these. And Witness, his full name is The Witness to the End. Why have all the characters got names like The Witness to the End, Lady Love Dies, Dr. June Jazz? Where do they come from?
I think they sound cool. I'm not...
Good enough.
Yeah, I like weird characters and weird fiction and realist stuff, and I always wanted to make characters that weren't just plain, that their name communicated something about them or the world. And we have one of the reasons that we've got this strange world is because when you're an investigator, like when you're reading like a murder mystery novel or watching a murder mystery TV show or whatever, you understand the rules of the world because it's set in the real world, and so you know what the rules of the real world are because you live in it. But also the story, like the TV show, is a linear experience, and so they guide you through what can and can't be done to investigate the crime. But in this world, because it's open world and because it's in it's a game that is all about player agency, we wanted to... Where am I?
That's a nice one.
We wanted to... yeah, I like that one. We needed to create a new set of rules because the murder that's happened is quite complex, and there's so many different players in it that we need to understand how they can investigate it. So, like in a murder mystery, like CSI or whatever, you would say, well, okay, the character's just going to go and do a DNA test, case closed, job done. But we didn't want that to happen. We didn't want the player to expect to be able to do a DNA test and solve some of these crimes quite so easily, or have the expectation to. So that's one of the reasons we created this fantasy world, is so that we can be very explicit about what our game rules are and world rules are, And that's some of the problems that you do run into with different games where people say that's not realistic because they understand how the real world works, but this game isn't giving them the affordance to follow through on their actions that they expect. So we've got this strange world, and how do we make it stranger? By giving people strange characters to interact with, like Shinji, for example. So the names come from like Witness, who we're going to go and see now. Witness to the End. His job role within the island is to oversee the end of the island. So every island ends after centuries of existing. An island will end where, because the demonic corruption sets in, and the island has to be shut down and killed, and then they start a new island. And it's his role is to oversee the end of that. So his name is just Witness to the End. So his name and job role became one. Same with Judge, like the Judge character. Once upon a time, when the Syndicate started, Judge wasn't Judge. Judge, like every society needs a form of justice, and so Judge scrubbed their ego to become an impartial instrument of justice and assumed them as a judge. Other characters like Lydia Daybreak don't have, like their name is not related to their job role, but some characters are. But the job roles are always so weird that it's, rather than just calling someone builder, it's
it's got to have style, right?
Yeah.
And same with the visual aspect. You've always been extremely strong on wanting to have these kind of slightly over the top poses, and there should be really bright, colourful, distinctive characters. And between you and Giga, you absolutely nailed it.
He's done a great job of bringing these people to life. The lunatics. So this is Witness.
That pose.
Yeah, this is Witness to the End. This is the first suspect that we've spoken to, and Lady Lovedeyes is known as the investigation freak because she's so obsessed with her investigations. That was her nickname.
She loves her job.
And then you've been gone for 3 million days up in exile, so each time you meet a new character, Starlight is introducing you to them. One of the problems that we have with this game is that some games like Persona 4, you're a stranger in a strange land. You're a transfer student going to meet a whole new cast of people, so they can introduce themselves to you quite naturally. Whereas Lovedeyes, because all these people were immortal, even though Lovedeyes has been in exile for 3 million days, she's coming back and she knows all these people. She has prior history with them, but we need a good way of communicating that to you. We tried a whole bunch of different things. We tried forcing you to read bios in Starlight. We tried presenting the biographies in different ways, but that's not great.
We had a hologram sequence at the start once, didn't we, where you had to talk to each of them, and it kind of worked, but it felt like it was just blocking your freedom. It felt like putting rules and restrictions on you, and we never wanted to do that.
So you get a bit of the history and you understand who these people are and what role they have on the island.
And it's important for these people not to just play the role of, just helping you solve the investigation. They are people on an island. They've got jobs, they've got passions, they've got prior history with people, and it's really making them, they are real people on this island, not just there for the purpose of solving this mystery.
So you always get a choice about how you want to respond. You can either be heretical and Lovedeyes has had a lot of time to think in the Idle Lands about the Syndicate and their role resurrecting these gods and how the gods treat people. So as the player you might think, well, I'm not really into this whole world-consuming god resurrection thing that the Syndicate have got going on. Or you might want to be we can see that Witness has become very religious, quite a religious character, and so we could play into that and make the conversation go a different way by agreeing with him.
So the characters do have relationships, and they can be altered by your choices, right? So maybe you want to keep them sweet so they give you a bit of information, or maybe you want to goad them into slipping up or something. These choices do matter, and if you annoy characters, they will respond differently to if you keep them happy.
Yes. Especially, like, some of the characters are quite extreme. Like, initially, you can tell how extreme they are. Like, Witness is a very, like, obviously extreme character with his religious overtones and the way he talks. And it's very clear to see how you have pleased or upset him. But then other characters are slightly more subtle with that.
Yeah, I think Yuri is another one who's quite obvious. I mean, he's got a strong personality that comes out straight away. But yeah, it's again, each of them got their personalities, but also you've got Lady Lovedye's prior relationship. Like Lady Lovedye's and Lydia and Sam, they were all friends before she was exiled. So you've got these kind of prior knowledge and prior relationship that feeds into the dialogues.
So that was our first interaction with Witness. So we've done a bit of setup. We've learnt a bit about who he is, what he believes, and what Lovedye believes. As the player, I was choosing to say that the official version of events about Henry is a bit too clean, a bit too convenient, and I'm a bit sceptical about it. And now we can choose what to talk to him about. So let's
ask a case file.
So with the case files, these are, so you can see here, KHX is missing and who killed the Holy Seal Marshals are two of the case files that we've got unlocked, and we can ask Witness about them. We can also ask him about his alibi and whether he's got suspicions of anyone else on the island that might want to commit mass murder. So you don't have to ask everything. There are a number of conversation topics, and new topics unlock as you find more evidence or get new testimony and discover things in the world. So we back up here. If we were to ask you about KHX, it's missing here. We could exhaust if we chose to all of the dialogue that's available right now, but that's not to say that you are then done with that line of questioning, because you might find some evidence later on that allows you to ask Witness something else about it. So you'll always want to be returning to these characters and seeing, as you build up a picture in your head of how all of these things are linked and how everyone is involved. You start building up this picture and you go, I need to go speak to Witness. I just found something about him that relates back to KHX, so I need to go and confirm that with him. So there's a lot of like hopping around the island to speak to different people, investigate different crime scenes. So that's why we always want to make sure there's something new and exciting to find, in a new place to explore, but also put a fast travel in. So for when you're thinking, right, I'm about to go to trial, I just need to go and make sure that I've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, that you have the opportunity to quickly go and wrap all that up. So let's ask him about his suspicions.
Yeah.
So we've asked, do you think Henry is responsible? And Witness is falling back on his trust in the gods, and that whatever happened is something that the gods wanted to happen. But
Not a lot of suspicion there.
No, does he have any suspicions? Not every conversation is going to give you something. That's just the nature of investigation. Like, not everything's a winner, but you are building up. It's all like building up this intangible knowledge you have of the situation and the inhabitants of the island.
And as an investigator, you are going to ask, like, what do you think of the official version to anyone, and everyone should be able to answer you.
But he does view that a lot of people on the island are sinners because, as we'll see with some of his other dialogue, he doesn't believe that the Syndicate are on the right path with what they're doing. He believes that they are focused too much on building the perfect island rather than resurrecting the gods.
Yes. Yeah, because the idea is, they're building the islands to service the gods, right? But at some point, when does power take over and they become corrupt and wanting to build the perfect island for themselves?
Yeah, when do they forget their holy mission? And then that's the core of Witness's thought processes. People are forgetting their holy mission. And the Syndicate force citizens, they abduct them from the real world and bring them to these islands and force them to pray, because when the citizens worship the gods, they release psychic energy, which the Syndicate then funnel to the gods to help resurrect them.
There is a real power difference between the citizens and the council and the syndicate. It's a bit of a dictatorship style situation, isn't it?
Yes, and what I say is they do treat them as cattle, and it is up to us, like with some of the choices we get as players, to how we want to kind of express our views on that.
Yeah. You can learn more about it in the world. So we've learned here that Witness, he believes the island, that the council is not following, the word of the gods, that they should be trying to do them more service. So perhaps it's worth asking about his motive as well. Like, if he believes that, would he do something so extreme to try and change the course of the council's plans?
Yeah, and you'll want to ask other people about that as well, because obviously if you ask someone what their motive is, they're going to say, well, I'm God. So you need to go off and find people that know Witness well and can speak to you about what they think his motive could be. We're currently asking him about his alibi and what he was doing last night, and he's telling us that he was here in his apartment with architect Carmelina. Carmelina is one of the syndicate members that crafts the new island. She designs and crafts the new island, and she came to spend the end of the island with him, because his role is to oversee the end of each island. But if the next island that Carmelina has designed is perfect, there won't be any more ends. Islands won't end. So just after all these millennia spent on these islands watching them fail, she came to spend time with him. So we've got his testimony there. So when we asked him about his suspicions, we didn't get any evidence, because there was nothing for him to say, nothing that he said was relevant to the case. But now we've got a bit of evidence here that although Witness and Carmelina were together in their apartment, in Witness's apartment all night, there was a 5-minute window when he stepped out of the room to take a phone call from Grand Marshal Akiko. So we need to corroborate. Like, can you prove your alibi? That's going to be key to getting the guilty convictions when we go to trial. Is making sure that we can prove everyone's alibi can be broken. So Witness has just told us. I know you want me to go and ask about the motive, but I just want to follow this thread.
So yeah, we've been told he was in his apartment between certain times. So he was with Carmelina. And what are you going to do? You're the one controlling. Where are you going to go?
So he's told us that at the entrance to his apartment there are some logs that can confirm that log who came in and out of his apartment. And here they are. There are these ancient computers, these nightmare computers rather, that are around the island, and you need to interact with these to unlock doors, to find evidence, break into servers, whatever. This one you can see is next to the supercomputer, which is access to one of the logs. But we haven't got the right interface. We haven't got the right software to interface with it. So we need to go and find an upgrade for that. And it just so happens I know where one is. But
we're getting all the secrets.
We're going to need to find some more currency.
Okay. So another thing you could do here, and it's probably not something we've really got time for in the stream, but witness said he was with Carmelina. So one way you can try and corroborate that testimony is to ask Carmelina, right? And see if she tells you the same story. Was she with witness between those times?
And we can do that. And you can see how it branches as well. Where is the crystalline? There it is.
Right, so I've got the cupboard. Okay. So now we're heading into the citizen apartments. So this is the difference to the open areas of
basically the council building.
Yeah, this is much more dense. You can see it's kind of high rise, and it's where the citizens would be, and there's billboards hanging around. And this is a service sewer tunnel. These are the apartments.
Be a bit sassy with her.
I really like this background behind there.
Yeah, I do.
This rainfall is taking place on starlight, which is why you get your skin applied. That's really cool. It's quite a new thing we put in, right? So we have a lot of variations.
And there's one type to every save point, and it's when I put them in, I thought, oh, we've only got a handful of save points, but of course, in an open world, you do need quite a lot of save points, so that there's always one nearby for the player. And then I suddenly found myself creating 44 of them.
Yeah, these are quite large textures, so I had to do a little bit of streaming work in there to try and make sure that we didn't blow up the memory.
Oh, started raining again. So Crimson just told us that we can use the AR mode to find her, and she's added herself to the AR mode now. She wasn't on previously because she's hiding out in a secret location. Here we are. Like I said earlier, the rain doesn't turn off when you go indoors, so forgive that, and that will be fixed. And here's Crimson Acid. Let's step into her room.
I really like these custom backgrounds as well. So obviously her background here is in her apartment, but each character, they've got their own unique look and their own unique kind of character intro background, which I enjoy. They're Vaporwave inspired.
Yeah.
This is what I really like.
So, Crimson's backstory is an interesting one to get into as you explore through the game, because she used to be an elite soldier. She defended one of the islands from a demonic invasion, and that's why the gods blessed her, because she killed some horrendous demon from beyond the stars. And after that, Montserrat, the leader of the syndicate, the head member of the council who was killed last night, wanted her to become an idol that other people, that the citizens would look up to. That if you pray hard enough and work hard enough, you can be blessed by the gods as well. And she's not a big fan of that, because she used to be a soldier, and there's nothing wrong. She doesn't think there's a tremendous amount wrong with that lifestyle of being an idol, but it's not for her. But she's been forced into doing a job role on the islands that she doesn't necessarily want. So does that give her motive? Like, dig into her motive. Like, did she want to do something to force their hand? So we can ask
one
her
way
about...
of finding. Oh, sorry, Karen.
Go on.
I was going to say, one way of finding out about this is all the characters have hangout options, so it doesn't always have to be about the murders and the crimes. Sometimes it's about chilling with your friends, or building relationships, and that can unveil just a little bit more history about the island, about relationships, and just a personality, and that's a really nice kind of passive thing that we always wanted to put in the game, and it's one of the things I enjoy most, just hanging out with characters.
Yeah, you never get any evidence out of Hangout, so that's important, is that we always separate those out so that they are kind of...
flavour.
Yeah, and they don't have as much weight on them, but what they do is everything informs your sense of the island, because we always ask you to make your own truth and not to find the truth. So when you go to judge to initiate the trials and you accuse, because you can accuse any of the suspects and then you have to present the evidence to get your conviction, your understanding of how this island works and how these people interact on it will inform your decision, based not just on the evidence, but the relationships you've made. Like, maybe you think, I think it was this person, but this other person is definitely up to something, and I've got the evidence to put them away for part of this crime because I think they're up to no good. So even though I can't prove they did the whole thing, I can still incorporate them into the crime. And you can make some decisions about who you like, who you dislike, and how you want to shape the world after this investigation is done. So we're here because Crimson is a secrets broker, and one of the things that she offers is an upgrade for Starlight, and she will sell it to us. And I want that upgrade because I want to go and confirm witness's alibi on the logs on his apartment, which he told us about. So she wants 10 blood crystals, and we have 10 blood crystals. Let's take that.
Okay.
So she knows a lot about what's going on the island. She knows more about weird stuff that's going on and secrets and whispers and rumours. So she's helping us out here because she's an old friend of Love Dies and wants to help with the investigation, even though she's a suspect. And she's telling us that maybe we should go and buy a drink. Nebula might be able to help us out with something, with an upgrade. And some factory worker has put something somewhere like he's got what might be an upgrade that he's hidden. So let's go.
Let's have a again here.
There's a crystal.
There should be a queue around the base of the apartments. So whilst you're crystal hunting, one thing we forgot to talk about here is some of the questions we got asked. We've been too busy talking about the game and we forgot to ask the questions. Do you want me to ask some of these?
Hit me with a question.
So, question number one, and I apologise, I don't know who this came from, I've just got the questions. But what challenges do working remotely present in project management? That's quite a practical question.
I don't think that we have had that many problems with the project management side of it. I think that it helps that you and I have known each other for far longer than is healthy, and we used to be in a band together.
Yep.
And we have made a game together before, an iPhone game.
We did, yes. That was about 8 years ago, maybe more.
We released 9 years ago this October.
Oh wow, yeah, it was right as the App Store was becoming a thing. Right? I think the 3DS had just come out, iPhone 3DS. But it's I mean, we work remotely because we now live in separate parts of the country. So it wasn't really practical for one of us to pick up and move house and live next to the other one. But I just don't think it's that necessary, especially in a small team. You can do so much remotely, and I think the only time I've missed it is when you sometimes just want to lean over and say, can you look at this? But the benefit is that you're not interrupted by that either. Like, if you're in the zone, you can just ignore Slack and get on with it, and we both respect that. So it's not really been a lot. Like our tools these days, they all support remote working, and yeah, we've been in the industry to kind of know some of the common pitfalls, and so it's not really been a problem for us, I don't think. I'd certainly say I would like to continue working remotely. Right now, we don't have the choice, obviously, you kind of got to. But I don't know if I'd ever want us to set up an office unless that particular project kind of demanded it.
Yeah, I agree. And specifically about the project management side of the question, we work very well together, and we work to milestones. So every month we have milestones which we deliver to the publisher, and that's a list of agreed upon items. So
we did that before we had a publisher as well. Like when we were prototyping, we were quite strict with what we wanted to achieve each either week or 2 weeks or monthly, whatever it was.
And one of the things that certainly I came to this project with was I hate project management in AAA studios because I was spending like entire days working out time estimates on spreadsheets for doing certain tasks on the project, which no one had ever done before. So we were estimating how long we think it should take, not how long it actually takes. And then that time didn't also account for me spending a day filling in a spreadsheet. And so, of course, when you actually come to look at the time in the project management, it's already out. And like, I always think that the best way to approach project management is that every plan fails when it comes into contact with actual development. And so we are very agile in how we respond to stuff and what we work on. And sometimes we crunch like hell because we have to, because there's just two of us on the team full time, and we're making quite an ambitious game with a lot of features. And we are both very good at communicating what we think is important and what needs time and space. Like there's been times where Phil has wanted to work on something that I didn't believe was important at that time, but then he explained to me why it is important and what the knock-ons are for the future, and how if we do this now, we solve a lot of problems. So, right, do it then.
Yeah, like the save system was one of them where I wanted to get it in so early, way before we even had a way of saving, but I know how badly that can go if you leave it too late. And we were committed to making the game. We always have been. No matter what, we would have made this game. And it's great that we've got that level of trust. And the relationship we have, I always think it's my job to get out of your way. Like, I need to make stuff so you can design and make it easy for you to put stuff in, and not question too many of the decisions. Like, I can ask questions and whatnot, but you've got a really strong idea of what this game needs to be, and it's my job to support a lot of that. And it works really well. Well, at least I think it does.
I think it does. I think this has been the most enjoyable game to work on, development-wise. Outside of development, like securing funding and, setting fire to my life savings to fund it, and we've had various personal emergencies and trials and tribulations. Like, all of that has been hellish, but the actual development has been fantastic because we don't block each other on anything. There's so much to work on. There's always something cool to do, and we always enable each other to work on something. So if Phil wants to put something in but needs something from me to make that happen, like some art or some design or setup or whatever, then I can just drop what I'm doing and make that happen, and vice versa. So let's jump into what's going on here.
Yes, so you've got the upgrade, you've installed it.
So this is our Nightmare computer puzzle interface. And there's a bit of preamble about this on the first one of these you do in the tutorial area, which we haven't shown in the stream. But these are sealed anti-tamper computers that contain information that you can only access with the right blood file. Each syndicate member has a blood file, and you can only access it if you've got one that's coded, so that you can access the information that is relevant to you. But Love Guys with Starlight can crack the code, and the code is an ancient language that uses kind of hieroglyphic-like symbols to form a password. And so these components here at the bottom are the components I've got to make this symbol out of. So I need to make that top symbol out of these components. And previously, when you start the game, you only have the GOAT family of components. But I just bought the Cosmos family of components. So now I can make stars and moons. So if we look at the GOAT one, so I need to make that symbol there. So let's try this one. And this one, that looks like a goat skull, right? But it's
Not that goat skull.
Yeah, we say it's decoded.
Kind of looks like the third goat skull.
Yeah. So that hasn't done anything for us, so we need to put in some different symbols to make that icon. So we assign them and then unassign them. So we need to let's make up this goat face first. There's part of it. So 17% of it has now been decoded. What about if we slap this bit back on here? And that's taken the decoded percentage down because we're getting further away from the outside. And then we add another one. And then we add that one. There we are. There we've got the face of the goat. Now we need the horns.
Matching up. You can see as you decode it, it's getting clearer as well. The image behind it is starting to... Oh,
we have the wrong horns on there, so let's put those ones on. Boom. Done.
Perfect. Now move. This should be easy, right?
Cosmos. Yes, we need 4 moon segments. And then all these different components make up different images. So that moon one I've just done, those components are also used in that 4th symbol that I've got to make. So you need to make some decisions, and then this one is the goat skull from earlier. And then we need a star, that, and we need that. There we go.
Cool.
So we now got access to the logs. Starlight is reading the logs. So we know at 5:30 last night, Witness entered his apartment. At 9 o'clock, Carmelina arrives and Witness buzzes her in.
That's what Witness said happened, right?
Yep. The God Justice Marshals arrive at the secured building.
So that's after the murder.
Witness and Carmelina exit.
So they were in there all night.
Yep. So they only left at 18 minutes past midnight, and midnight is when the murder took place. So we know that they were in this building when the murder took place.
So we know that they were in there, but we also know Witness did take a phone call from Akiko.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so he didn't leave the building to take that call.
But he did. I think he said he stepped out of the room.
He did. Yeah, he stepped out of the room. I think that's right.
So here's Yuri. Here's one of our other suspects, who we can talk to. But let's skip him and let's go and talk to Carmelina, since she was the person that was with Witness all night.
So she is in the
past it. See, there's another one of these computers. So these are positioned around the world, and you'll be able to crack into them.
Just bring up the AR mode again so people can see how you find Carmelina.
There's Carmelina.
Yep.
Let's do this as well. So this is a shrine.
Yeah. So I'm laughing because I know what the effect is on
It's got a placeholder effect, which we really should change before ship.
It's been placeholder for a few months now.
So it's ritual to donate and let blood in prayer at a temple. So let's spend one of our blood crystals to donate, because as we all know, religion requires cash. May the silent goat walk with me. There we are, there's us letting blood with a very placeholder effect. And there's a new pickup.
Possibly all your blood.
And this is a carving about damned harmony, one of the gods.
Perfect.
So we've got some history about him.
Oh, thank God that's scrolls. I thought that was a bug.
No, I checked that the other day. So the reason Lady Love dies, we haven't really got into this, but the reason Lady Love dies was exiled is because she allowed a god to deceive her, and she threatened, she almost allowed him to enact a plan that would have killed all of the syndicate. So she was exiled for her role in that. So we've got a little bit of history about that there.
Cool. So let's go find Carmelina. See there?
So double jump on.
This character you can see in the posters is someone you'll learn. Well, you probably will learn about in the game if you do a bit of exploration.
Oh, you get told about him early on as well. This is Montserrat, the leader of the syndicate, who is the head of the council, who has been murdered. He was part of the mass murder last night, so they've set up a little shrine to him. It's a shame, like, that we never got to put him in as a full character to speak to, because when this art came in from Giga, I really, really loved it.
It's such a good character piece, yeah. And yeah, he's not there. So, trying to speak to Carmelina, but she's in the throne room and she's heavily guarded.
So Carmelina has been placed as since the leader of the syndicate was killed last night. judge decided to make Carmelina the acting leader of the syndicate until they go to the next island. So she is now in the throne room. She normally wouldn't be in here, but she's currently leading the syndicate. And the history that we have with Carmelina is that her father, on a very early island sequence, was deceived by one of the gods, and he was executed by the syndicate for conspiring with a god. And the Silence family would never be allowed on the council. So Carmelina shouldn't be on the throne due to that ruling, but her she designs the islands, and the next island is going to be perfect. So she was the architect of the perfect island, and we are now in the position where the syndicate want to move to the next island. She's been installed as leader to make that transition as smooth as possible when the move does actually happen. Story now. Like, this is all very important, and it was something that was lacking for quite a while, was making sure that the player was seeing this, and in a fairly non-intrusive way. And I really hate like exposition dumps in games, but it's kind of a bit necessary.
Well, it's also done in a way where it's delivered by Starlight. Starlight is your factual machine. Like, there's no question. Here's some information, and it's like you are looking up information about them. And like we said before, we tried numerous ways, and this way felt right.
So we're choosing to be a little bit snide with Carmelina here.
She designed the islands, right?
Yes, she is the architect, and she has the special ability, her family have a special ability that allows them to transmute psychic will into structure. So when the council need to birth a new island, they enter a meditation state, and she designs the island and then opens up passageways in realities for their psychic will to flow to a new pocket of reality and become a concrete structure, become the island, and give form to that psychic will. So that's her special ability. So rather than just being an architect that just draws some blueprints, she is like very key.
She is a creator as well. It's her vision truly does come to life.
Quite quick to anger as well. She holds herself in quite high regard and doesn't like recognize as sass.
She sees herself as being extremely professional, doesn't she? Yeah. She is the architect.
So we can talk to her about her suspicions, her alibi, witness's alibi, because he gave you some testimony about his alibi. So now we can go and speak to other people about what his alibi was.
Let's ask about witness's alibi. I'm conscious we've been streaming for a while now, and there's a lot of questions that I haven't answered.
Oh yeah, all right.
So let's see how this pans out.
So she's given us a quest log there to go and speak to him. So she's confirmed his story, although it hasn't spat out any new evidence, because we've already got evidence from witness about his alibi, which we've confirmed. That hasn't given us any new evidence, but it means that she has corroborated his story.
If we'd spoken to her beforehand, well, I'd ask about her alibi, she will tell you where she was.
So now she's going into a bit more detail about her specific alibi.
And again, these dialogues do mutate depending on what you've seen before, right? So some of it kind of spells out what you know, which is what you'd expect to happen, but some of it leads on things you've already learned.
So here we are. We check the log. She says that the logs on his apartment should confirm, and now the dialogue branches to show that yes, we've checked the logs and they confirm what she said, and she's happy about that.
Oh, so she said what happened afterwards. She left, and that was confirmed in the logs as well. They both left after the building was secured.
And then they give their formal goodbyes. That each character is born under a different god's sign, so it's deferential to, in the fiction of the island, to give them a nice goodbye, referencing their god. Right,
I remember that being a real... Sorry, I was going to just say that. I remember putting those little end dialogues in being a real pain because the system just didn't allow for it. But it's something I really wanted in, at least, that just, you know, again, just reminded people that they're on this weird island and they are part of this ruling syndicate council. So it was a pain, but worth it. Right, let's do some quick fire questions. Favourite character?
I really like Shinji. Because he's kind of anarchic and easy to write for. Because he's outside of the story, so there's outside of the murder case, so there's less writing dialogue in this game is very difficult because you have to be very explicit and no one can say anything ambiguous. Like everyone needs to give you some information. I've got myself stuck. Who's your favourite character?
Sam.
Oh, Sam's the best.
Yeah, so, you can't keep saying that. I'm just going to say now, my battery on my camera's dying, so if I disappear at the end of this chat, sorry about that. I'll still keep talking, you just won't be able to see my wonderful face. But yeah, Sam, I like how he looks, he just looks wonderful. I love the fact that he and Lydia have a relationship. I really like that element of the game where, you know, there is love on this crazy island. And he loves what he does. He is an incredible bartender, and he really cares. He's got so much passion, and that's something I always respect about people. Anyone who's really passionate about what they do just makes it look interesting to me. Number one. Can I really accuse anyone of a crime?
Yes, you can. When you go to the trials, the judge will go through all of your open case files, and you will have to choose a suspect for every case file in the trial, and and you can choose any suspect. But if you choose someone that you haven't got evidence for, it's not going to go especially well for you, but you do get chances to argue it through.
So I could right now go to that KHX missing and say I think it was Carmelina, and it would just fall flat because I can't prove a damn thing about it. Mm-hmm. Cool. So the only one you can't accuse Shinji, we've said that before, and you can't accuse Judge because Judge is obviously impartial.
Judge is bound to the island, so
yeah.
There's story reasons and it's explained why. Yeah. So it's not just an arbitrary thing.
So we've touched on this before. How many endings are there? We've got no idea. A lot.
About 1 trillion. But they're not. Yeah, they're not dedicated endings. There's not like specific. Oh god damn it! There's not specific end cutscenes like you get in some games. It is about the kind of culmination and lots of different variables coming into play at the end.
Just going to point out that the thing you're having trouble with there, navigating, there's more upgrades you can get that would make that easier or slightly more open. But we won't talk about that.
Upgrades to get. Quite enough for this game.
Yeah. I'm conscious we've not actually shown that much of the game. We've only shown a couple of areas, and oops, my camera's gone. We've only shown a couple of areas, and there's so much to discover. And I think even we forget how much there is in this game. Right, another trials one. What happens if I start the trials early? So if you want to accuse someone straight away, like if you don't want to play the game, then you can just go straight to the judge. And basically try and just say, I believe the official version of the event, pretty much, right?
Yep.
That'll happen.
We believe so heavily in player agency that we want to take all barriers away from the player to let the player do whatever they want, and that means that we can't have like arbitrary contrivances around stuff. Like we have to support everything.
And there's stuff I'm not going to talk about other than to say that we want you to have a satisfying experience, and we believe we've got a way to make sure you can get that. But
yes, making sure the player can express themselves and get a satisfying climax is very important. And
as you said, story interaction. We never want to restrict you, and there's systems in there which allow you to basically finish this how you want to finish this. How long is a playthrough? Similar question. Can be 20 minutes.
Half an hour to 20 hours.
Yeah. I think in focus testing we've had people say, I think 18 hours was one of them.
Yeah.
But that was without some of the areas we've got in now, I think. So it could be a bit longer.
Yeah, you get out of this as much as you want to. Like, if you want to have a quick playthrough, go for it. If you want to have a long playthrough and really soak in like the world and the evidence, then go for it. It's entirely up to you, but we are working very hard to make sure that everything is a satisfying way to play.
And if you play it twice, you're going to get through the same intro, and you are going to see some of the same dialogues, but you can choose to play this a different way a second, a third, a fourth time.
Yeah.
And if you really, really want to try and convict someone who you weren't able to successfully convict before, maybe there's a way of doing that. So you can play the first one through, like say 12 hours, and then you can have another 12-hour playthrough and get a different overall outcome. So what else? But why are all the characters 2D? That's something we always ask.
I'll go back to my motto. In game development, you can do anything but not everything. And 3D characters are not we don't, on the team, not just us two, we don't have the skill set to model, rig, and animate 3D characters. So that would have been a massive cost to us to bring them in.
Not just a financial cost either, but a time cost. Like getting those systems working, getting them looking good, getting them feeling right. It's expensive.
And with games where you have 3D characters, that level of, like, a certain level of reality is brought to it, and a certain expectation is placed on those characters. And as soon as you see a character, 3D characters, slightly not play the correct animation or loop their idle animation over and over again, the illusion starts to break down, the sense of place starts failing. So by abstracting characters out into 2D, one, it's something that we can achievably do and make look good, but also you don't have that sense of immersion breaking when a character clicks through some collision or whatever.
Because what we would want if we had fully 3D animated characters, we wouldn't want standard animations. They'd have to be handcrafted, and they'd have to be relatively extreme to fit what we'd like. And that requires a lot of skill, and a lot of time and iteration. And what we chose to go with was style, right? Like, we can get good stylized 2D characters that fit in the world, and it's one of the first things we proved, that we could make them fit in the world. And we don't necessarily want them to blend in. They should feel like they're there, but they should stand out because you've got to go and question them. So they're quite heavily saturated. And I think some people might say, well, they should have 3D characters, but I don't think I would change that about this game. I
Absolutely
really like what they are.
And we do stuff with them that you wouldn't get away with if we had more realistic 3D characters. They're not affected by lighting, so you can see there, because he's not affected by lighting, he stands out. And so you can see him from a great distance away. And over there's Witness. Okay, he's so far away it's hard to make out exactly what he is, but there's Witness and there's Shinji. And so you can create these visual landmarks very easily.
And it means that they're always in a good pose for what they do. Like the Justice Marshals you saw there, they've just got their arm out as a guard position. It explains what they are without, you just catching a glimpse of them in some idle animation where they're shuffling around.
Yeah.
Right, another question. What's been the best thing to work on, assuming the context of Paradise Killer? Favourite thing you've done in the game?
Favourite thing you've done in the game? I don't know, there's been so many actually. The music system is a recent one, but then putting in all the Shinjis was great because there's suddenly, I just flicked again, there's suddenly more to find in the world and some humour and some weirdness. But then one of the feedback effect that we got was that, you can't see it from here, but it was quite difficult to get from one side of the island across the mountain to another. So I punched through the mountain after the focus test. I punched through the mountain and put a new gorge in, and I really wasn't sure about what that would look like and how it would come off, but it actually turned into one of my favourite areas once it was in.
I really like it, yeah. That's cool. My favourite thing is, it's quite a boring one, actually. Oh, this is Dr. Doomjazz. Yeah, it's one of the core things in the game is just the interaction system, so how you can interact with things. And I like it because it's a simple system that's expanded really well. So often you write little systems that somehow aren't suitable for the game in the end, like they fall short, so they've got some limitation. Whereas the interaction system I wrote for this, it's like, oh, okay, we need something to open, that's easy. We need something to be usable, to be examinable, but now we need it to be locked and usable. Now we need it to be behind the computer and locked and examinable. And these things just stack really, really well. And I think it's meant we've not had to create these bespoke things that could keep going wrong. They've just got a nice simple implementation that just means we can be free in the core of the game, which is examining and investigating things. Worst thing to work on.
The task I've done this week.
Yep.
We have about 500 different dialogue files, because we decided to split all the dialogue up into small, discrete, modular chunks to help with management, but also to
this
make
here, what you're seeing now, that ending, that's a dialogue asset.
So rather than what we initially started with was like a big dialogue tree that you would go down and we'd have to insert into all sorts of different places as to where you've come from and what you want to talk about. So what we did is we split all the dialogue out into separate dialogue files and then put it behind like an abstracted menu system to help with the flow of that feel more natural and manage it more easily and let the player know what they are going to talk about, like give the player the agency to talk about what they want to do. But we didn't initially plan to have a character variance in. You see how like some of the faces change, some of the body poses change, because we couldn't afford it and we didn't have time to do it. But since working with Fellow Traveller, we got the time and resources to get more of these character variants in. But what it meant is I then had to open up 500 and something different dialogue files and click through all the different dialogue nodes in each file and assign these variants.
Yeah, there's some stuff we can do automatically, but stuff like that needs handcrafting.
Yeah. But, so, like, the actual method of doing it is the worst thing I've done in the game, but the actual result is one of the best things I've done.
Yeah, it does make a massive, massive difference. But I've had to do a couple of things where altering a lot of dialogue, and it's just tedious work, isn't it? It's just tedious that there's no better way of doing it, so you've just got to sit down and just burn through it. Cool.
Shall we wrap this, because we've now done 2 hours?
Yes, I was going to say, I think we've covered all the other questions just talking naturally.
Yeah.
If people do have other questions, you can obviously fire them out and we'll try and answer them.
Get at us on Twitter, at Kaizen Game Works. Ask a question on our Steam Community Hub, because I've already answered one good question there.
Oh, yeah.
And
there is a Discord channel as well, the Fellow Traveller Discord channel. We're in there, so you can join that.
Shout out to Serpent Breakdown. Oh no, I walked off the edge. Serpent Breakdown on the Fellow Traveller Discord channel that has asked us loads of good questions.
Yes, we are happy to answer them. We are just two people, so apologise if we're a little slow sometimes, but we will answer every question we can. Obviously, we've shown a bit of the game here. There's a lot of stuff we do not want to show because a lot of the joy in this game is about exploration, and we don't want to spoil too much for you. So we will hold some things back, but what we can answer, we will do. Get
the demo on Steam during the LudoNarraCon period, and enjoy, and let us know what you think. And please help to breathe life back into Paradise.
Yeah, wishlist it, and so you'll know when the game is out. And yeah, we look forward to seeing how you interpret the crimes. And check out the other videos that we've got going on for LudoNarraCon. We're going to do a character deep dive soon. We're going to record that next. Barry, our composer, has done an amazing video about the production of the Paradise Killer theme. Phil's going to implement a technical feature and show you how we do stuff in Unreal.
This game is built in Unreal, and I'm going to do a bug fix in half hour, and just talk about how we make some of this stuff, and try not to show any spoilers.
Excellent. Shall we end this by going to a vending machine? Are you alright showing that?
I'm alright showing that.
Yeah, that's just a nice little thing. Again, a thing we added really early on. There's one just at the bottom of the barracks there.
Oh! Yes, mates!
Nice. So Dead Nebula provides the vending machines here. What drink is this one?
This is Bizarre Lychee. Last time, was it last time? Yeah, last time me and Rach were in Japan, we found this amazing Metz Lychee drink.
Oh, I know the one. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
The CC Lemon is where I'm at. I love that stuff.
So this is Dead Nebula. Dead Nebula is the main corporation on the island, the main business on the island, and they have a mascot, an AI mascot that runs a lot of their facilities and processes, and acts as like a promotional mascot. And Rachel designed Dead Nebula for us.
Very cute. I love it. It's very cute and upbeat, and also kind of dark. That this big corporation.
Yes.
Behind it, it's wonderful. Cool. So here, Dead Nebula's. I love that option. Yeah, a bit of chat about that, and Dead Nebula tells you some things. Good corporation, keep buying drinks and they'll help you.
So this is what Crimson Acid told us earlier. That she said we should go and take a drink because she thinks that Dead Nebula has got an upgrade for us.
Cool. Perfect. Right, well, let's not share any... Oh, was something you wanted to say?
I was going to say, where is it? There may be a Starlight upgrade jammed in a broken vending machine in a warehouse. So he's told us that, and now we know about that. So. Oh,
just have a quick look in your inventory as well. We haven't shown that.
Key items. So every syndicate member has a blood vial. That's Starlight. Yeah. That's your blood sample from Henry. And then, upgrades. That's the upgrade that we installed earlier. And relics. So these are the collectibles that you found.
So there's your like she is at the end there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we let you track all these things, and some of it's flavour, some of it's key items. Cool. Right.
Awesome. Thank you very much for joining us. I've just realised I've been slouching and cutting off the camera. And please stick around for more Paradise Killer based LudoNarraCon stuff and
the other stuff in LudoNarraCon.
Yeah, and the LudoNarraCon stuff. There's a lot of great games being featured. There's going to be some sales. There's demos. I'm going to be on a panel. A live panel about cultural dissonance in games. That will be over the weekend, and please check out the demo and the demos of all the other cool games.
Yeah, and get in touch all the ways we said before: Discord, Twitter, well, any way you want really. You know, we're contactable. Just search for Paradise Killer.
Turn up, just come around. I've got some beers in the fridge, so help yourself, and we'll have a little chat.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for watching. This is the first time we've done this, so hopefully it came across well. I've really enjoyed this playthrough. It's been great.
Yes.
Excellent. Here. Well, thank you, Ollie, and thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye bye.